Today, I'm going to take out this old aluminum door and replace it with that vinyl door. The reason, well, this aluminum door, it came with the house, and I guarantee it was the cheapest sliding door they could find when they built the house. It's never slid very well. I've taken it down. I've tried to replace the sliders inside. It's such an old door that the replacement sliders you can get at a big box store. It never quite fixed it. It still never slid very well. The handle has been pot metal. I've replaced it 3 times because that pot metal, it just cracks over time with the stress. Having this new door, I've looked at the handle. It's made much nicer. It's not a huge project. I'm going to show you how simple it can be. I'm going to get started. First things first, this new door is awesome. It is reversible. So right now it's set up where the outside door slides from left to right. Why need it flipped the other way? So what you do, you take the sliding door out, you rotate the door 180 degrees, you put the door back in, and it's the right way. Now alternatively, if you want it to slide the other way, you would just turn it around and flip it however you need. So it's awesome. You can orient this door however you want to do, whatever you want to do to fit whatever space you want. So first, I need to flip the door and get it in the right orientation because the panes of the door are not where I need them to be. So when you buy the door, these handles are screwed into the wood blocking around the door. You will unscrew those at some point you deem necessary. There is wood blocking on 3 sides of the door. There's not blocking on what they deem the top side, which needed to become my bottom side, so I added this blocking. I put just 2 screws each block. So this is aluminum track the door slides on. If you have to rotate the door end over end like I did, you need to pull this track out. That's what your door actually slides on. This is just a plastic filler strip that's also on the top, so I pulled both those out and I'll be putting those, I pulled them from, the door's bottom, which is now my top. I'm gonna be putting them in these tracks. This is where this white plastic one goes right here in this thin track, and the aluminum slider goes right here in this track. So that way your door can slide. These white spacers, that's just so your door doesn't slam up against the jamb, so you'll wanna make sure you switch those around too. But this door's cool. I mean, it's built, the frame is it's the same top and bottom, which makes it easy to flip. It's a smart idea. So check this out. Replaced the floor with tile a number of years ago, and the tile is like 1/8 of an inch higher than the sill plate. And because of that, the door won't lift up and slide out. So what do you do when you don't have enough clearance? You make clearance. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna cut this top track here and another end, fold it up. I'm gonna just pull the door out from the top because I don't need the track, not gonna use it. That's what we're gonna do. So let's examine why I had such trouble getting this door out. So the jambs at the sill and head were bolted, or the sill and head were bolted into the jamb. The screw heads were concealed completely underneath. So I mean, I guess potentially I might could have hammered this thing out, maybe. The sill also had a concealed screw underneath the fixed portion of the door that I didn't see because it was concealed. So, you know, I had to get a little rough on this thing, had to cut it. That's what got this thing actually started moving. I don't know how you'd gotten it out otherwise, other than trying to like hammer it out all the way around little by little, but that takes much too long for me. So it's just about out. Here's the carnage. I'm gonna clean this up. Hopefully the new door will go in a lot easier than the old door went out. All right, now I'm burning that midnight oil. The new door is in place. Did have to cut the tabs off when you buy the door. The new door is made with tabs all around the border. You gotta snap those off with shims. The instructions call for 4 screws, one at the head, 1 at the sill, both sides. So I'm gonna shim the door where I'm screwing it in, just so that it fits in the jamb, because this door is a little bit narrower than my opening, which is perfect, because you want to be able to use your shim to make sure everything's snug. I've leveled the bottom is perfectly level, as it should be. The old door should have been level. This one is too, perfect. Now I'm gonna shim the jambs so that everything is plumb, and I can get some screws in there and not have to worry about this door falling out of place. My goal is by the end of the night to have the sliding door in place, have it screwed in, at least have it like somewhat done so I can leave it. I'll still need to do the trim around the border, caulk, all that stuff. So I got creative use of pool noodles here. I ran out of backer rod, and I like to at least seal the door up. You know, I used backer rod here, ran out along the top. I'm just using pool noodle. That way the door is sealed, you know, pretty decent. I will caulk it, that will make it better, but for now that will work. This does have the stops at the top and bottom here. I did have to trim this top one just so it was the same length as the bottom one, so they kind of hit at the same spot. This is the latch keeper. There are longer screws that come with the kit, so it goes all the way into the jamb, because you want it in the jamb, otherwise you're not really locking anything. That's it. That's all my trash. I'm gonna clean that up before I call it a night. Tomorrow, I'll have to get some more backer rod and then caulk all the way around. So then also another thing about this top joint is it is so deep. I'm gonna add some blocking and then just a normal size backer rod, because this is a huge thick piece of foam that's too thick, that's too wide to caulk. So I will need a little bit of blocking to fill in that gap. I use shims on all the screw areas. This door recommends one at the top and bottom of the jamb, both sides. I also put one in the middle of the non-sliding jamb. The operable door has a keeper with screws in there. I did shim that. One thing you want to do with your shims, you want to crisscross your shims. That way you're creating a flat spot for the door. You know, if you just put one shim in, it's uneven, so your door's not going to sit right. That's why you want to crisscross them, so that you get a nice flat spot. After that, you want to put backer rod in any of the gaps in the door. So you can see the backer rod in the gap of the door. This is about a 3/8 1/2-inch gap. You want to get backer rod that is, say, the same size or at least bigger. I have put painter's tape along each side of the gap. I'm going to caulk it next. The tape just makes it easier to clean up so we don't have it as big of a mess. So you'll caulk this gap, then you'll be all set. The important thing about the backer rod is that if you just jam caulk into this, you just get this big glob of caulk, it's not going to stretch. When you have a backer rod, it creates an hourglass shape for the caulk, which allows it to stretch and compact, which is what you want it to do. If you just have a big glob in there, it's not going to compact or stretch, and it's just going to break away from either side of the jamb. So I've just about got this sliding door project wrapped up. I've caulked the jambs. I need to work on the head. So the head, the gap was fine on the jambs, but on the head the gap was 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch, whereas the jambs was 3/8 to a half. So that's just a little bit big, nearly 7/8. So I'm gonna cut some wood to shrink that gap down a little bit. Then I'll put back a rod and caulk. I don't have to fool with a gap that's as big as 7/8. That's just too big. I'm gonna cut some wood strips, glue those together, put those in the head, and then be ready to go. So there's certainly easier ways to fill the header of my sliding door. I could just get 1/2 inch plywood or 3/8 inch plywood that would work. I don't have that. I've got this 1/8 inch, well actually this is 3/16 of an inch stuff. I've got that on hand, I've got a bunch of it. I'm just gonna put it together, it's only a couple of extra steps, put that together and use that. And you see I wore a lot of gear. You gotta have the ear protection. This equipment is loud. You listen to it enough, it's gonna damage your hearing. I wore a dust mask because I don't wanna breathe in sawdust. I like having my lungs free and clear. I wore a face shield because you never know what could kick back, what splinters could come flying at your face. I don't want anything coming to my face. I want a shield. I've got it. I'm wearing a paint suit just because sawdust is dusty and I don't like to get my clothes all dusty and dirty. I gear up. That's how I like to do it. So now I need to glue these pieces together since they're cut to size. And what I'm going to do, since I don't have a piece that's the complete length, I've got a 48 inch piece and a 20 inch piece, and so I'll alternate the joints so the joints don't all line up. That way it'll be stronger, that way I'll glue it in. I may finish the face of this stuff because you got that rough plywood edge. I may finish that with some kind of, I may use spackle, I may even use body filler. Usually I use spackle. It's something that is not going to be in any kind of contact, coming to contact with anything. It doesn't need to be that strong. If it is like a corner edge that somebody may hit or knock, I'll usually use body filler. It's just stronger. Probably use spackle on it. I don't need anything that strong. It's above the door. Nobody's ever going to touch it. Nobody's ever really even going to see it. Got it all clamped together. A lot of times if I'm gluing wood, I will glue surface to surface. I'll use a card to make sure the glue is covering every surface. With what this is, what it's doing, and the fact that it's not going to come into contact with anything, there's just no need. I just need this is basically just filling space. So I just ran quick glue beads, trying to get most of the surface. This will be sufficient. Again, if I was building furniture or building something that needed to be more durable, every surface would have been covered. I would have made sure that both sides covered, perfect, just only kind of coverage. So once this is dry, I'm gonna basically glue it to the header of the door. I use, probably some shims to get it in there, get it glued, let it dry a couple hours. Just this clamp, with the clamps, this will be dry in 30 minutes where you can't budge it. So once that's done, get it in the door, wedge it in there with some shims so it can glue to the header, and then I'll be ready to add backer rod and caulk and finally call this sliding door done. I haven't been using it. I put foam in there just to fill the gap so it's not, air seeping out. Love it. The thing is so much better. Great upgrade. Just need to wrap it up. There's a few little details. Those are always the last few things that you get done. So this is 3 pieces of 3/16 inch plywood glued together. I spacked the side and painted it just so it has a bit of a smooth finish. These wedges help kind of push it to the top and just glue to the top. I just wanted a smaller gap to caulk. This gap is pretty large. This shrinks it down quite a bit. So the next step, pull out all these shims, put my backer rod in the gap, both sides, caulk both sides. This door's gonna be done. Bonus floating shelf video. Hey Scooter, what's up, buddy? So I made these shelves a few years ago. They've got a French cleat. That's how they hang to the wall. They look like they're floating. This is MDF. I generally don't like MDF, but for a project like this where there's no screws involved, you're just gluing stuff together, you want a smooth surface, it works great for that. The French cleat is plywood, just so that it, a little bit stronger. I don't trust MDF for stuff like that. So this is the box. It hangs on the wall over here. So this is my French cleat. It is cut at an angle to where the shelf hangs over here. I've got 4 screws in the wall. You can see I got some extra holes because, well, sometimes I say measure twice, cut once. I measure once, cut twice. So these screws have a plastic anchor. I drilled this plastic anchor is in the wall, drilled a hole, put it in. This is supposed to hold 50 pounds. Does it? I don't know. I'd say it's probably about right. Put the screws in, you're all set. And the floating shelf, there's an angle. You can see it's got a slope. Shelf hangs right on it. You've got a floating shelf. I made these shelves a few years ago. they hold up really well. So here we go, we've captured the magic of the floating shelf. Like I said, the French cleats hangs right in there. It looks like it's floating, there's no support. Good shelf. I've moved it, this is the third time I've moved it. And I keep moving it because it's a nice shelf and it holds up. So the door is done. It is still standing, no catastrophic failures. It is wonderful having a door that works as it should. I'm having to get used to not having to jerk the door with all my might to get it to open and shut because these rollers actually work. There's nothing I would change. It's perfect as is. One suggestion, I moved this over from my old door. One suggestion is this stop. It is 1-inch PVC. I put a screw in the end, and this is just a keyhole bracket here, and it hangs on this screw I put in the jamb there. So when it's not in use, you can just hang it up right there in the jamb. That way it's not rolling around all over the place. Makes it very easy. That'd be my last suggestion, just nice to have. That way you can put it right in the sill of the door. And just added protection, never hurts.